The fall before the rise, hook and setup. The stars twinkled coldly in the vastness of space, but beneath their distant glow, something terrible was happening. Far away from Earth, in a galaxy not yet touched by human hands, the most peaceful and helpless race in the universe found itself facing a nightmare. They were the Valorians, a gentle species of telepathic beings with fragile bodies, soft skin, and no defense against the violent forces of space. For centuries, they had lived in peace, surrounded by distant stars, unaware of the chaos brewing around them. But everything changed in an instant. The Valorians had no army, no weapons, and no means of defending themselves. They trusted in their peaceful ways, believing that the galaxy was full of allies. But when the terrifying Farion Empire, known for their brutal conquests, targeted the Valorians' homeworld, the truth became clear. Kindness was no protection in a galaxy ruled by violence. The Farians struck with overwhelming force, their massive warships blotting out the stars. They came to enslave, to destroy, and to conquer. They had no pity, no mercy. For days, the Valorians fought desperately, but they were outmatched and outgunned. Their cities fell in flames, their homes turned to rubble, and their people were captured like livestock. It seemed as though nothing could stop the Farians from wiping the Valorians from existence. But just when hope seemed lost, a signal was sent out, a cry for help, a desperate plea. The Valorians' fragile minds reached out, not knowing who would hear them, but praying that someone, anyone, would come. It wasn't a shout of war or violence. No, it was a simple message of survival, a plea for mercy. And it was answered. From the darkest corners of the galaxy, a force unlike any other arrived. The Farians thought they had seen it all. They had crushed countless civilizations. They had torn worlds apart. But this was something they had never encountered before. The Deathworlders. Humanity. They were a species forged in the fires of struggle. Their world, Earth, had once been a chaotic, war-torn planet. But over time, humanity had risen from the ashes, surviving against all odds. They were survivors, fighters, and creators. They were a species that lived on the edge of destruction, yet never faltered. They were born from the harshest conditions, and their resilience was unmatched. The Valorians' cry for help reached them, and the humans answered with fury. In the blink of an eye, the Farions' plans were shattered. The humans arrived in waves, not in massive, overwhelming fleets, but with a force of precision and unrelenting power. The Farions were not prepared for what was coming. They had underestimated the humans. They had forgotten one crucial thing. Humanity was not like any other species in the galaxy. As the Deathworlders made their way to the heart of the battle, they brought with them something no one could have predicted. They didn't just fight. They fought with purpose, with creativity, and with a burning desire to protect those they cared about. They weren't just defending the Valorians. They were defending everything they stood for. In the distance, the Farion ships loomed, massive and menacing. The humans, though, moved with a speed and efficiency that caught the enemy off guard. They were a force of nature, unstoppable and relentless. Every move they made was calculated, every decision driven by years of survival instincts. The Farions might have had the numbers, but humanity had something far stronger: heart. The Farion leaders looked on in confusion as the humans tore through their defenses. They couldn't comprehend how a species so small, so seemingly insignificant, could stand against them. But as the first human-made explosion rocked the Farion command ship, they began to realize the Deathworlders were not here to beg for mercy. They were here to unleash it. Unleashing humanity's fury. The air in the command center of the Farion flagship was thick with tension. The alien conquerors, with their sharp, cold eyes and cruel expressions, watched in disbelief as their well-oiled war machine began to fall apart. Their once pristine ships were now engulfed in explosions, their weapons failing in the face of an enemy they couldn't understand. The Farions had thought they were prepared for anything, but nothing had prepared them for the ferocity of the Deathworlders. On the bridge of their command ship, the Ferion admiral slammed his fist onto the console in frustration. His fleet, once poised to obliterate the Valorians and claim their world, was now in disarray. What had started as a simple extermination mission had turned into a nightmare. "You find out what's happening," the admiral barked to his officer. "How are they bypassing our shields? What kind of weapons are they using?" The officer, shaken and rattled, quickly scanned his monitors. "Sir, they're not using anything we've seen before. The humans are deploying strange, small crafts, too fast for us to lock onto. They've breached our defenses using, well, it seems like guerrilla tactics. No full-scale assault. Just precise hit-and-run strikes. It's chaos. Impossible," the admiral spat. "We outnumber them 1,000 to 1. He was wrong. The humans didn't need numbers. They needed strategy, and they had it in spades. Thousands of light years away on the surface of the Valorian homeworld, the Deathworlders were already making their move, while the Ferion ships focused on the human fleet in space, but real battle was being fought on the ground. The humans had landed in secret, slipping past the Ferion's radar undetected. Their mission wasn't to strike head-on, but to infiltrate, sabotage, and destroy from within. Led by Commander Eric Walker, a seasoned human strategist known for his brilliance in unconventional warfare, the team was already deep inside the Ferion camp. His squad was made up of soldiers, engineers, and scientists, each of them an expert in their field, each of them with a burning drive to protect the helpless Valorians. "We don't need to win this war in one battle," Walker said, speaking into his comm device. "We need to make them fear us. Every move we make will cost them something. We're not here to take them down all at once. We're here to make them regret ever picking a fight with us." Walker had spent years studying the Ferions, learning their weaknesses, their habits, their routines. He knew their strengths, but more importantly, he knew their arrogance. The Ferions had underestimated humanity. They thought humans were just another species to conquer. But they had made a mistake. The Deathworlders were not like other species. They had fought against the odds their entire existence. The human soldiers worked in complete silence, their movements swift and precise. They planted explosive charges on key infrastructure, cut off Ferion communication lines, and sabotaged power grids. Everywhere they went, destruction followed, but it was controlled. A single Ferion outpost was reduced to a smoldering ruin within minutes, but it was only the beginning. Meanwhile, on the Ferion flagship, chaos continued to unfold. The battle outside raged on, and the Ferions had no idea how to deal with this unexpected threat. Their warships were still strong, their weapons were still deadly, but their confidence was crumbling with every passing second. "We've got a problem, sir," one of the Ferion commanders reported, his voice shaking. "The ground forces, they're everywhere. We've lost control of the capital. They've already infiltrated our base. Our security is compromised." The admiral's face twisted into a scowl. "Impossible. How did they?" "They were already here, sir. They're like ghosts. We can't catch them. We don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing it. We've never faced anything like this before." Back on the surface, Commander Walker and his team weren't just fighting the Ferions. They were making the statement. Each attack was a message to the galaxy. Never underestimate humanity. They were the ultimate survivors, and they would fight for the weak, for the helpless, for those who couldn't defend themselves. It wasn't about saving the Valorians. Not just yet. It was about sending the Ferions a message they would never forget. The price of defiance. The final clash had arrived. The Ferion flagship loomed above the Valorian homeworld like a dark, suffocating shadow. The planet beneath was scared with the marks of battle, but humanity's impact had been felt everywhere. The Ferions, once so confident in their ability to crush any resistance, had been pushed to the brink of defeat. Their fleets were in disarray, their ground forces scattered, and their leaders were scrambling to maintain control. The Deathworlders had proved their worth, and now they were preparing for the final strike. Commander Eric Walker stood at the head of a small, yet powerful group of human soldiers, preparing to launch the final assault on the Ferion Command Center. He looked up at the massive, towering structure above them, the heart of the Ferion war machine. The building was surrounded by Ferion defenses, but none of it mattered now. They had already done enough damage. The enemy was crippled. "We take that tower. We take them all down," Walker said, his voice calm but filled with determination. "This ends now." His team nodded in agreement. Each soldier knew the risks, but they were prepared for anything. They had fought too long, too hard, to stop now. The Valorians were counting on them, but so was the entire galaxy. If humanity could bring down the Ferians, it would send a message that no one would forget. The universe would understand that humanity was not a force to be taken lightly. They moved quickly through the darkened streets of the capital city, their movements swift and precise. The final push was underway. They had learned everything they needed about the Ferion defenses and how to break them. Each human soldier carried a specialized tool, a weapon, a device, or a skill that would dismantle the Ferion technology from the inside out. As they approached the command center, Walker turned to his team. "Once we're inside, there's no turning back. We disable their fleet controls, then hit the communications relay. We make sure they can never regroup." They breached the outer perimeter with explosive charges, cutting through Ferion defenses like a knife through paper. The Ferion soldiers, caught off guard by the humans' relentless tactics, were no match for the trained warriors of Earth. But the final room, where the Ferion High Command was located, would be the most difficult. Inside, the Ferion leaders waited. They were furious, their alien faces twisted in anger, yet they couldn't shake the growing feeling of fear. The humans had made it this far. It was only a matter of time before they reached the heart of the Ferion Empire. "You've underestimated them," one Ferion general said, his voice thick with disbelief. "We should have crushed them when we had the chance." "I told you not to underestimate humanity," another snapped. Just then, the doors to the control room burst open. Walker and his team stormed inside, weapons ready. The Ferion commanders scrambled to react, but it was too late. The Deathworlders had come, and they were not there to negotiate. "We didn't come here to talk," Walker said, his voice cold. "We came here to end this." Before the Ferians could launch a counterattack, the humans had already disabled the fleet's command system. The massive warships that had once been a threat to the galaxy were now powerless, floating aimlessly in space. The Ferion's greatest strength had been shattered in an instant. The final blow was not a single explosion or a strike of power. It was the knowledge that the Ferions had failed. Their war machine had been defeated by a species they had dismissed as weak. Humanity had proven that it was not the size of the force that mattered. It was the heart behind it. Commander Walker stood at the center of the room, looking at the defeated Ferions. "You came to conquer," he said, "but you never understood what makes us human. We fight for each other, and we fight for those who can't fight back. You'll never win a war with that kind of strength." As the Ferion leaders were taken into custody, the humans sent a signal to the rest of the galaxy. The message was simple: the Deathworlders are here, and we will never back down. The Valorians, once on the brink of extinction, now stood victorious. They had been saved not just by humanity's weapons, but by their resolve, their creativity, and their unyielding strength. They were no longer helpless. The galaxy had witnessed the power of humanity, and it would never forget it. Humanity had unleashed its fury, not in mindless destruction, but in defense of the weak, the helpless, and the innocent. And in that moment, the galaxy learned the most important lesson of all: do not mess with the Deathworlders.